Hey guys, what's up? It's Tees here, coming at you with another Tips with Tees in College Football 25. In today's video, I'm going to go over 10 tips that will make you basically unbeatable in College Football 25. But before we jump into it, if you could please leave a like, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, and don't forget to turn on your notifications so you don't miss another Tips with Tees in College Football 25. Starting out with number 1, recognizing if you're facing man coverage or zone coverage. Anytime that I get in a passing situation, I always try to make my number 1 priority pre-snap to recognize if I'm facing zone or if I'm facing man coverage. The reason for that is because there are particular routes or route concepts that beat each coverage. No reason to really get too intricate with it and trying to figure out if you're facing cover 2 zone or cover 3 zone or cover 4 or anything like that. Zone or man coverage is all you need to do to give yourself an opportunity to be successful on any passing attempt. The easiest way at identifying if you're in man or zone coverage is obviously having all your players on one side of the field and no one on the other side of the field. In this example right here, it's obviously zone. Why is it obviously zone? Well, you have that safety or corner on the right side of the field, basically covering no one. So with that being said, it's very obvious that they're running zone coverage. Why? Well, if you look here when I show you the play art, fairly obvious as well, as it looks like he is one of the cornerbacks on the outside, that when there's no one over there, he still has a zone to cover. Pretty straightforward. With that being said, now you know that they are in zone coverage. It doesn't matter if they're in cover 2 or cover 3 or cover 4 in this instance, but you know that they are in zone, and there are a lot of different routes that beat zone coverage. If you're interested in what those are, I did make a video at what concepts beat zone coverage. Essentially, you're looking for clear out routes, things that will push a defensive back line backwards and open up space underneath. Sometimes you have routes like corner routes that beat it as well, but that's another tip for another day. Essentially here is you're going to be looking at the B receiver Smith. He's running a deep out. He's going to be opening up space for Igbuka underneath, and then if needed, X Tate on the left side, he'll be clearing out space for Smith if Igbuka is covered across the middle. Scott is obviously going over the top as well, and because of Tate pushing back that cornerback on the left side, well then you're going to have a lot of clear out options in this play. So let's see here. Obviously in this situation, I'm going to be looking at Igbuka first, and then I'm going to be going to Smith, and then probably Judkins, because he should be even more open there because he will get to the open side of the field on the left with all the cornerbacks and defensive backs that are playing zone push back even more. So let's see here. Hike the ball here. Igbuka runs into somebody there. That didn't work as well as I thought it did, but he ran into somebody there. Let's hope that he doesn't do it here. Hike the ball. Doesn't run into anybody there. There we go. He's able to pick up 5-10 yards. Now, keep in mind that these tips, they're going to help you move the ball. These aren't going to be money plays. They're just moving the chains, which is effectively what you want to do in this game, because not only do you give your defense a little bit of a break, hopefully you get that wear and tear fixed so they're not really affected by it when they get back on the ball, but you also are hurting their defense as well and chewing that clock, because ultimately, especially if you go in college football playoff or road to college football playoff, you only have 3-minute quarters. So if you can score a touchdown, take down that clock so they don't have much time, you make it more of an obvious passing situation, that benefits you immensely. So let's go back to this really quickly. All right, let's look at Judkins here. If he's able to get out, he is perfect. The spin move work, it doesn't, okay? But still, you have options here. The fact that you know that it's zone is huge. If I look at Smith, boom, open. Can he drag his feet? He cannot, but he was open there. Let's see if I can hit him better. But you have options here. You have clear out options. Those are going to be the best ones for you here. And look at that, wide open, great toe drag swag right there. And again, knowing that you are in zone, this is one of the tips right here, obviously knowing you're in zone. If you're not sure what you're in, it's very, very simple as well. The only other thing that I would do to confirm if it is zone coverage or not, if I'm still not sure here, run my player over. Oh, you notice how no one followed him. They just kind of shifted over a little bit, kind of handing him off to the outside cornerback. That's another tell that you are facing zone coverage. Now, what happens if they're in man, Tees? What happens? How's that look? Well, I do have another video on that as well, but I'm just going to show you very quickly what it looks like here. And essentially, this is what it looks like. You have your right cornerback, and he is going to be going up against Smith. You have your, I think he's a cornerback or linebacker. He'll be going up against the tight end. And then you have the linebacker directly over Judkins. He's guarding him. Pretty much all of the defenders are playing right above their respective people that they're going to be guarding. So you have that. But again, coverage tells. This is pretty straightforward because, you know, everyone is spread out. But again, another tell obviously is if you have everyone on one side of the field, well, then there's not going to be anyone on the opposite side of the field where there's no one to be and it's not obviously that is zone coverage. But if you want to confirm it again every single time, if you're confused, if it's man or zone, just throw someone in motion. It's that easy. That's all you have to do, which I'll do here. Watch, I'm throwing him in motion, and now you watch the cornerback. He follows Smith all the way to the opposite side of the field. Now you can kind of tell that this is man coverage, not just because that he followed Smith across the field, but on top of that, you have no cornerback on the opposite side of the field where he was before when we were in zone coverage, and now it's more obvious that, okay, this is going to be man coverage. So that is tip number 1. Tip number 2 is knowing what routes beat man or zone coverage. So, like I just mentioned, we're currently going over what we're in man or zone coverage. We're currently sitting in man coverage. I'll show you right here. We're going in man coverage now. One of the most OP routes against man coverage is going to be the zig route. So in order to set up a zig route, you press Y, select whichever receiver that you're interested in changing his hot route. I'm going to select B for Smith. And then left on the D-pad will give you the zig route. And this zig route is especially OP because he fakes like he's going one way and then goes the opposite way, but has a really good little cut. And it makes it almost impossible for defenders to stop, especially if they have inside leverage. As I'm going to put Judkins on a blocking assignment here just so he doesn't get in the way. But I'm going to show you here. We just watch Smith just work his magic here. Boom. Wide open here. That is just one example of one man beater that beats man coverage. Another thing that you want to keep in mind is cuts. Cuts definitely beat man coverage basically every single time. And by cuts, I mean an in route, an out route, things like that. Because if you notice, at least I have when I'm playing the CPU and I'm bringing a blitz and I'm using cover 0, anytime that they do a deep in or an in route with my man-to-man coverage, it gets beat almost every single time. So another hot route that beats man coverage is going to be cuts, going in, going out. And let's see right here after I put Smith on a in route, how effective it is versus this player. Look at that. Look at all that space. And if that linebacker wasn't following, it'd be a lot easier, but he wasn't able to catch him, so that's an easy touchdown. So you just got to find what routes beat what coverage. And like I previously just mentioned, I do a video on specifically what routes beat man coverage, specifically what routes beat zone coverage. And I'll give you a few options on zone as well, since we are going to be playing or facing zone in this situation here. So like I mentioned previously, clear out routes are what you're going to be looking for when it comes to zone coverage and how to beat it. You want to have X Tate. He's going to be pushing back the defensive backs on the left side of the field, opening space for Smith underneath that. And same thing with Egbuka. You're going to have on the right side our tight end, Scott. He's going to push back those linebackers and then allow Egbuka to go underneath him to have space underneath. Clear out options are amazing. There are so many concepts that benefit and beat zone coverage. And again, I have a video specifically with a bunch of route combos and concepts that beat zone coverage. This is just one of them. Again, look at this. There's no one underneath to stop Smith. Just runs a basic, kind of looking at a little out route, a deep out route, mind you. And that's what he's able to do is beat that. Again, let's look at Egbuka here underneath with the clear out. Look at that. There's no one there. Able to move the ball about 5 to 7 yards. If you're lucky, you might get more if you break a tackle. But it's fairly simple. Again, you want to know what hot routes or routes beat man or zone coverage. Sometimes there are plays that offer both man and zone beaters, so it doesn't really matter as much if you can identify zone coverage or man coverage, but it definitely does help. Tip number 3 is setting your coach adjustments on defense. Now, this is something that I don't think too many people do, and I don't know why, but when you're facing someone that has a running quarterback or a quarterback whose ability he can run, whether it's the read option, he can scramble, you always want to set your coach adjustments before you get absolutely toasted. And the reason for that is when you have your option defense read key, it's balanced. So sometimes they'll go for the running back, sometimes they'll go for the quarterback when you have a read option. But you want to always set this up on conservative. And the reason for that is, as you see on the right side, or the center of the screen, should I say, you look at conservative, it says it focuses on the QB option, and it doesn't focus on the dive option. And that's fine, and that's what you want, because if you focus on the dive option only, that means that if they just pull the ball every single time, the quarterback is going to have miles and miles of space, and he's going to run wild, and you're going to have a terrible time, and you're not going to be able to stop them. But if you put them on the focus on QB option, well, because of that, you are now forcing him to hand it off to his running back every time and run through that offensive line. So I'm going to show you really quickly what aggressive looks like, and then I'll show you what conservative looks like. So I got this set up as aggressive, meaning that they're going to go after the running back here. Defensive end with the R over his hand, he's the read key, so I read him. And the fact that he's going for the running back, okay, cool, I'm going to go. Okay, supposed to dive right there. Didn't mean to do that. I definitely meant to, slide, but it is what it is. But you notice that he's crashing down, and because of that, I got miles and miles of space to go. Unfortunately, I have Will Howard. He's not the fastest. He's not a Jalen Milroe. But that is one of the reasons why you want to avoid this, because if you just pull the ball every single time, you're going to have almost a first down depending on how much room you need and what coverage that you are actually in. Because I'm in zone coverage, it definitely doesn't help too much because they're not running with the players, but you are able to gain 5 to 7 yards easily with a slow QB. Now let's see what happens when you put it on conservative. So now when you put it on conservative, same rules apply. The read key is right there, but now look at him stand up right there. Now I have to hand it off. Yeah, I'm able to gain some yards here, but the fact of the matter is you are forcing them to run their running back over the middle, and it's not an easy 5 to 10 yards. Now they have to earn them. They have to earn those yards over the middle, and it's not going to always work out. Obviously, if you have an offensive line like Ohio State, when they're not injured, they are very, very good. But the fact of the matter is it's much more difficult to run through the middle of the field. Like, look at that. If you miss a blocking assignment, boom, you can get stopped easily. You can make a stop, but you have to do this early or you will get absolutely toasted on defense. And usually it takes 1 or 2 times for me to be like, oh man, I totally forgot I need to do that. Because if you don't do that, that will make the life of your user that you're going up against a lot easier. Because look what happens here if I pull the ball. Oh, I'm going to pull it. Oh no, not only do I get hit behind the line of scrimmage, I might fumble, my player might even get injured. So you want to keep that in mind, especially if you're, you want to be smart with it, because if you do this, the wear and tear in this game can really make a big difference against winning and losing, because now you might be hurting your throwing shoulder, you might not have the right throwing power. So you want to keep that in mind, and that is definitely one of the most important adjustments to make in this game, because read options are very, very common and used all the time, especially when you have a mobile quarterback. So for my fourth example here, I'm going to be talking about knowing where your players are going to be in the passing game. So every time that I go into pass, I always look at my play art. I always want to know where my players are going to be and where my eyes need to be, because this is very, very important. If you don't know where you're going to be going with the football pre-snap, you're going to have a very difficult time passing, because if you don't have a plan and you're just trying to wing it, not many people can just do that, especially when the game is on the line and the plays are moving really quickly. So you got to have a plan. So I always try to have 1 or 2 pre-snap reads of where I'm going to be looking first, where I'm going to go to second, and maybe where I'm going to go to third. I'm not that good to go maybe 3 different routes and what to look for, especially if they're on the different side of the field. But you want to always have a plan. And by having a plan, it really helps, because you also not only set up what players and icons that you're going to ready to pass to, like, oh, okay, get ready to pass to A, now I'm get ready to pass to RB, and maybe X across the field. The other thing is also seeing where their route is going and knowing, okay, in about a second and a half, Scott is going to be about 10 yards downfield to the left side of the left hash, and then you're going to have Henderson on the left hash, basically at the line of scrimmage, and then you're going to have Smith at about the 10-yard line marker on the left side. Again, you're going to have things that you want to know where to move your eyes before the snap, so that when it happens and when everything starts, you're going to be able to make a good read, and that will help make a good play, because instead of now having to scramble and be like, okay, where are we going? Oh, is there anyone up here? No one's running over there. Now you're able to really have more confidence in the passing game. So again, I'm going to look first at RB. I know I said A first, but I'm going to look at RB, because I think here we're going against zone coverage. And with that, I'm going to look for a clear out route, and we're going to see if RB is going to be open first. If he is, I'm going to hit him. I'm going to take those easy yards. If A is open after and RB is not, then I'm going to hit him. And then if everyone's covered, then I'm going to look at Smith on the outside. So let's see here. RB got cleared out. Perfect. He's got space right over the middle, able to pick up 5 to 10 yards. You always want to have a plan when you're passing. If you do not have a plan, you're going to hold on to the ball too long, and that is going to allow you to get sacked, fumble the football, and give up a turnover. You do not want to do that. Again, nice little route combo here, able to pick up some easy yards underneath. And if you have a really good running back and a fast one going up against an okay user, you might even be able to score a touchdown on that. Now, let's just say hypothetically that RB is covered. Henderson is covered, right? Let's just go through the motions, not saying that he's going to be covered in this short video right here, but let's just see what happens. Oh, RB's covered. Okay, let's see A. He looks kind of open. No, he does not. Let's see if I can go to RB. Nope, he was not able to get the throw off because I took too much time for that play to develop. And that's another thing as well, besides the pre-snap. Keep in mind, too, in the back of your mind, you're only going to have 2 to 3 seconds to throw. Don't expect to have 4 to 5 seconds, and that if you don't get the ball off within 4 to 5 seconds, that is the offensive line's fault. This game is very realistic, and you want to do everything in your power to make sure that you get that ball off within a 2 to 3 seconds maximum. If you have more and you have great pocket presence, well, good for you. I don't, and majority of us don't. So you got to keep in mind that you got to get this pass out quickly. Boom, gonna hit RB. Bad throw here, and he wasn't even open. So you want to keep in mind, again, your plan. You want to have the plan, and that, again, is, okay, he got bumped. Okay, well, I'm just going to RB on, take my yards. Easy. Easy 5 to 10 yards, and that's all you have to do there. Again, you always want to have a plan. You want to have a hot read, and then you want to go to maybe a second read. And if you're lucky, and maybe if you have a third, route in a particular area, you can go with a third read. You want to make sure that routes are kind of not going to the same area, but you're going to one side of the field. It's really hard to look at 2 routes on one side of the field and then flip your eyes all the way to the other side of the field, even if you have a smaller TV. It's just very difficult to do, and you got to practice that a lot. So keep that in mind. So my next tip is number 5. It's going to be high ball passing. A lot of people haven't really talked about this, and it's probably one of the best videos that I've made so far in College Football 25. But high ball passing is extremely overpowering if you know when to use it. I know when I first tried using it within the first few times, it was difficult to kind of remember, oh, this is a good high ball opportunity. High ball that pass. I'm going to show you a few clips of when I actually was able to high ball pass and be successful with it right here. And you could see that it depends on the situation. If there's a player that you need to throw over and he is open and there is space, you just know that if you throw a line drive pass, it'll obviously get intercepted. If you high ball passing, that will obviously give your player an opportunity to make the catch. Yeah, they might not be able to pick up too many yards after that, but the fact of the matter is you can move the ball down the field and make the catch and move the chains. Again, these plays that I'm showing you, they are just helping you move the chains. That is it. That's all you want to do in this game, because eventually you're going to score. And again, here is an example of me high ball passing. All you need to do to high ball pass is press left bumper on Xbox or L1 on PlayStation when using your passing icon. So in this example here, I'm going to be looking at Scott, who is the tight end, and I'm going to be holding LB and A when passing the ball. He will essentially throw it higher, making it impossible for a defender to undercut and pick it off. As you see here, he's going down for the route. I'm going to high ball it. Well, it's not like it mattered there because, oh man, that linebacker definitely got hit there. Let's see if he gets hit here. Hopefully he's able to, okay, here we go. He's not getting hit here. See, now if I throw the high ball, he's not able to undercut it. And not only undercut it, but let's see what happens if I don't high ball it. Hike it right here, throw it, and look at that. He's able to undercut that throw. So essentially the pass play is not open. But if you throw a high ball pass, even with him below it, you see he's able to make that catch, which makes things so much easier. And when you get comfortable with high ball passing, not too many people talk about this for whatever reason, but high ball passing is so essential in the passing game, because it allows you to make passes and complete passes that normally aren't open. And yes, sometimes you're going to have 50-50 balls when you high ball pass it, but at least it gives you a chance to make the play and make it hard for not just your user defender who you're going up against or the CPU, but also gives yourself a chance to make the catch. Again, I'll show you here. You throw the high ball pass, and there's no chance for that linebacker to undercut that. I'll regular pass it here. So they'll go, oh, well, that's not fair because he just got bumped, so I'm going to replay that. But let's try to make this, try to prove my point here if he doesn't bump into that safety. Boom, I throw it here, undercuts it, great play. I'm playing on Heisman again, just like I always do for my tips with Teeds. But that is one of the biggest things, and one of the things I always recommend is high ball passing and learning to high ball pass. Look at that. It was a little underthrown, and he still made the catch. So keep that one in your bag, because I'm telling you, if you get comfortable with high ball passing, especially in the red zone, man, will you be able to score more touchdowns and upset your players that you're going up against, because it's impossible to pick off passes that are high balls. Unless, of course, you're throwing like basically a jump ball where both players are standing still and they jump up. Obviously, that's different. I'm talking about when they're moving. It's impossible for them to undercut those picks and obviously pick it off. Number 6 is going to be lead passing. Now, this one I don't see talked about enough as well, and this one is essential to making sure that you avoid interceptions. Essentially, what you do with lead passing is with the left stick, you move it away from the player or closer to the player, depending on where you want the throw to be. If you go up, you're going to throw it more downfield when you throw the pass. If you hold your left stick down, you're going to throw it with him kind of coming back to the ball a little bit. If you throw it to the left, you're going to lead him more to the left. If you're going to go to the right, you're going to lead him more to the right. And staying in the same pass play that I had been running over for the high ball, I'm going to show you here, as long as the He doesn't get stopped. Look at him undercut that with a regular pass, no lead passing at all. Obviously, he can undercut that, right? Well, let's see what happens if I press right on the right stick while passing is. As long as he doesn't get stuck, throwing it to the right. Well, now I'm leading to the outside, and he can't make a play on that. And look at that TD. It's that simple. Sometimes when you see a pass, and I've done this accidentally without even really consciously at least knowing it, I see a defender that I'm throwing maybe a drag route to, and I'm like, oh no, I'm throwing it right to a player. Well, then I might lead him more to the outside, or I might throw it a little bit behind him to give him a better opportunity at making the catch and making it more difficult for the defender to intercept the pass. As watch, I do another lead pass here, lead it to the outside, and the linebacker is not able to make the tackle. It's that simple. There's not much you got to do there. And now let's see what happens if I throw it just back and he comes back to the ball. Look at that. I give him an opportunity to cut back to the ball just in case. And that was with me holding down the left stick. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to throw the ball, pass it to him, but throw it down. Gives him another opportunity to make the catch. But it's really, really simple once you get the hang of it. And when you see certain players running towards a defender, you want to throw it to the opposite side of him to give you a better chance at making the catch and avoid making a turnover or a costly turnover. Number 7 is running RPOs. I call RPOs pros. Pass read options, because essentially you're going to have the pass option and the read option. But for me, I start with not the read first, not the read option. I start with the pass first. That's how I run them. Let me know down in the comments how you guys run them, but this is how I run them essentially. I'm essentially looking for Egbuka on the bubble screen. That's what I'm looking for first. If I don't, well then I'm definitely going to pass the ball. So what I do here is I watch that left cornerback there and watch what he does. Oh, he goes to the outside. Okay, well, he gets blocked, so I threw it out to the outside, and I did lead pass to the left, just like I previously talked about, number 6. So let's watch again here. This time I am in Tampa 2 on defense. Again, I'm going to be watching Egbuka in that inside defensive back and watch what he does in order to make a decision on what I'm going to do with the football. He stands stationary, and boom. Very easy. You might be able to get lucky with a touchdown. I know I have in the past if you have good blocking, but I'm always just preaching, move those chains, move the chains, move the chains. So essentially what also I'm going to throw in there as well is how to read these read options, or RPOs should I say, or pros, how I explain it. I see this as 2 things. So you have the B option there. If you know that he's going to be able to beat that coverage outside, you can obviously hit him as well. Also, the RPOs are set up generally this way, where you have the B. If it's man coverage, well, that's the man beater. That's the man coverage RPO that he will beat. If you can identify the offense, like in number 1 that I talked about earlier, B is going to be beating man coverage. If you notice that it is zone coverage, which we're currently playing zone, well then Y is going to be the key that you're going to look for here. Each side of the field is going to be one read. Usually it's B is usually the man coverage, and then the yellow is generally going to be the zone coverage. Obviously, if they're both covered, well, then you just hand the ball off here. But I'm going to look at B first, and if he's not there, then I'm going to hand the ball off. Boom, outside, he's got the leverage, and look at that. The one thing that I get annoyed with for sure is definitely the angles of attack where they just can't really do anything on defense. Look at this. Maybe able to make a play there, hold on to the ball, but I pick up 5 to 7 yards. So if they're both covered, well, then I just hand the ball off and I take my medicine over the middle. It's that simple. Again, all these plays are going to be helping you move the chains, and that's all that you essentially want to do. But you want to essentially kind of identify, okay, are we in man? Are we in zone? Oh, we're in zone coverage? Well, then we're going to be looking at Y. And if Y is not open, oh, he scares me because he moved over to the side, which I get. That could easily set you up for a pick 6 if you throw that ball and the cornerback jumps it. So you want to be careful. If he jumps it, well, then you definitely do not want to be that guy, which I have been plenty of times in this game, where you're like, I'm still going to get that throw there. I can do it. I know I can. And then it turns up into a pick 6, changes the game completely, the momentum, and everything like that. So you want to definitely keep that in mind. Oh, he's covered again. Well, I'm going to take my medicine up the middle and run the ball. It's that simple, guys. That's how I run RPOs. Let me know in the comments if you guys run this way as well. I know it's not traditional. I, again, consider it a pro, PRO, the passing first and then the read option. But that is how I go about read options. And if you're able to successfully move the ball with these RPOs, this will set you up for a lot of success because there are multiple options on how to move the ball with this one play. Number 9 is going to be how to contain scrambling quarterbacks. This is definitely a big issue in this game, especially if you go up against Alabama, which is probably one of the most common and popular teams to play with in college football 25. So if you don't set up QB contain, look at that. Oh man, you got all this space. And if you have a really fast quarterback and a really good user, it's going to be very difficult to stop because not only do you have to stop the pass, but now you have to stop a scrambling quarterback. It is a lot easier than you expect, but it might take a little bit of trial and error, and sometimes you have to take your medicine as well. So all that you need to do, essentially, to start with at least, is going to press RB or R1 on PlayStation. It'll bring up this little menu, and on the right side, it says RB is QB contain. Currently, I'm going to show you right here. This is what my defensive line is looking like, but when you press RB, boom, boom, well then now they have those little brackets on them, and essentially that is going to try to help contain. They're going to try to get to the outside, and I was not able to scramble there. Let me see what happens if I scramble to the right side after setting up a QB contain. Boom, run out to the outside here, and oh, I break a tackle, and it's unfortunate, and that'll happen. Again, that is where I was saying you got to take your medicine. That happens from time to time. You're not going to get them every single time, but this will help limit the big plays. So you want to keep that in mind as well. Another thing that I do on top of QB contain is if that is not working, essentially, what I do is I put my players on spies. So, and by players, I mean my defensive ends. I know you might kind of ruin your pass rush at that moment, but if they're scrambling outside right after the snap, it's not going to matter what you do because the contain isn't really going to stop them too well because they can easily just get outside of that if they have a quick enough quarterback. So in order to put your defensive ends on QB spy, what you're going to want to do is press A. It'll bring up this little menu, and then right stick to the left, you see it says QB spy. Put them there. Boom, you got a QB spy right there. That is awesome. But usually I don't stop there. I move over to the other side as well, and I put a QB spy on both sides. So now watch what happens when I hike the ball. They're just hovering right there. Boom. So if I run to the right, oh no, they're right there as well. Oh no, they're going to hit me. And that is big because they are just waiting and watching that quarterback all day, and you have two of them. So if you just do it on one side, well, that's not going to help because what if he scrambles to the opposite side? That is why I put the QB spies on both sides of the field because I want to stop both sides. So I don't know which side they're to scramble with. Generally, they usually run to the throwing side, but sometimes they don't, especially if you are constantly putting one person on a QB spy. They're not going to pick that up. So I hike it here. I'm going to run to the left. Oh no. Nothing I can do there. You might be able to pick up a few yards, but at least you're going to have a defender constantly on him, and that'll make it very, very difficult where he has to look downfield as well. And even though he might break the tackle, you're going to have one guy there, and hopefully by the time he breaks that tackle, he will be able to get another defender there and stop him for a loss, fumble, or whatever. So you want to make sure to contain scrambling QBs, and that is the best option that I know how to, and it's been very, very effective with me. Again, you want to put two QBs on. You want to put two defensive ends on spies, or you want to do the QB contain and use that middle linebacker as well. That will help because you cannot use your middle linebacker and also contain with him because you're going to leave open a bunch of space behind him. So if you put your defensive ends on QB spies, that will greatly increase your chances of stopping them from scrambling and getting out of the pocket. So number 9 is coverage shells and using coverage shells. I know I just came out with a video recently about coverage shells, went much more into depth about them, but if you have an opponent that you're going up against and he is constantly getting up to the line of scrimmage and adjusting his play depending on what you are showing, whether it's cover 3, cover 2, cover 0, or man coverage or zone coverage, well then you need to start learning how to use coverage shells because they are really good at hiding what defense you're actually playing. And this is what pros do all the time, not just college football 25 and Madden pros, but also in the real world as well. In the NFL and college football, they try to disguise their coverage. And this is essentially what you are doing. Now, in order to use cover shells, if you look down pretty much in the middle of the screen there, it says shell. It says shell default with the right stick. If you use the right stick left or right, you could scroll back and forth on what coverage you want to show compared to what you're actually going to be running. So in this example, I'm going to be running the Overstorm Brave, which is essentially cover 0 since there's no safety help. And I am going to have it set up as cover 2. So you see here, it definitely looks like a cover 2 coverage. Generally, when you go up with cover 0, you have that little line that you have pretty much every single time. That means that all the defensive backs and linebackers are all going to be lined up about like 8 yards off the line of scrimmage. And with that, it's an obvious tell that there is no safety help because there's not one or two specific safeties that are deeper. And with that being said, it's obvious that it's cover 0. But with this, I am essentially running cover 0, but I'm not showing it. I'm giving you that cover 2 look, which right here, it looks just like cover 2. You got 2 deep safeties and everything. So it's very, very easy to disguise this. The only thing is with coverage shells, you need to know who is out of position and where they need to go. Sometimes you might need to user that player specifically to make sure that that you don't make that mistake, that you're going to get burned with a particular player. But you need to definitely keep that in mind, because here, the right safety, he's guarding the tight end, and there is so much space, almost what, like 5, 10, 15 yards of a gap there. So if he just runs a quick little drag, well, you're going to get beat right away. And then you also have that left safety who's guarding the running back. If he swings out to the right, you are absolutely screwed. So you have to take one of those and keep it look like, you know, you're running a cover 2. Obviously, if you bring both of those guys in, it looks more like you're blitzing, and obviously you're bringing them up to guard who they're guarding. The main goal here with cover shells is to throw off your opponent. You want him to be like, oh, this is cover 2, cool. I don't have to worry about any blitzing or anything like that. Whether it's going to be zone or it's going to be man cover 2, it doesn't matter. It doesn't look like anyone is blitzing here. So the goal is for you to get them to hike the ball and get all flustered, like, oh my gosh, wait a minute, this isn't cover 2. They're blitzing. I didn't know that they're blitzing. And if they don't have someone that has the field general ability, then they're not able to really pick it up. And it's so hard to see this without just knowing. Like, it's very difficult. And one of the main keys with coverage shells is not only to get your opponent to be flustered, but also let them hold the ball for an extra second or two, because maybe that first read that they had isn't what it is, and they're not going to be open because it's not what they're expecting. If they are expecting, let's see here, if they are expecting, you know, Egbuka to kind of maybe throw it over the top, well, he might not be open now because it's man coverage, and they don't see that. So let's see what happens if you just hike the ball. You got all those, you got a free defender, and you got to get that ball out quick. And if you're not planning on getting that ball out quick and you're not expecting that defense, you might hold on to it for an extra second. And oh no, oh, A's open. Oh, I pressed the button, but still, it didn't register because I got sacked. So let me see here. Got the ball. Oh, let me hit A. Oh, I can't make the pass. That is one of the ways and one of the reasons that you should be using coverage shells, because you are throwing off your opponent. And now, whether or not whatever defense you come out in, they need to kind of mentally check with, okay, are they going to be showing this the actual defense they're going up against, or are they using a coverage shell? Now they're really thinking in this. Basically, any sport, in my opinion, is a chess match. You're trying to outmaneuver your player that you're going up against, and this is huge because this makes them really think. And if they guess wrong, well, that they're going to be flustered, and that opens up a lot of opportunities for your defense to force a turnover, you know, get the ball back, get a sack, get an incompletion, things like that will help you win the game and be more effective on defense, because now you got them thinking and not confident on offense. And that is definitely a big part of this game, is getting that offense to not have confidence of what you're going up against, and that will win you more games. So again, this is just one example. I did make a more detailed video. I'll put it down in the comments, in the description below, and also I'll try to remember to add a card right here up top for you guys to click on that if you want to watch it. I do go more into depth onto what coverages to use and what works and what to expect. So for number 10, it's going to be very simple. Use practice mode. Get your practice in. Don't expect that by learning on the fly, you're going to be getting better. The amount of time that I've put just in practice mode with this game alone has shown immensely in my gameplay. You're able to practice different plays, test out new things, practice pretty much all the 9 other things that I mentioned, and it makes things so much easier when you are able to practice and repeat it and get used to it. You can practice your high ball passing, you can practice your lead passing, running your RPOs, recognizing what defenses that you're going up against. Practice mode is essential to being good at this game. Obviously, you could do it on the run just by doing dynasties, but here you can do things a lot quicker and run the same play over and over and over just to see what would work. Let's see here. For example, I practice a lot of different things that I'm trying to figure out, whether it's a new play, a new pass play that I'm not familiar with. Well, I run that so I'm more comfortable with where the players are going to be, who is generally open against what defense, and that is huge. So you can learn so much just in practice mode. You can obviously go first offense versus defense, practice your usering skills. You can also, one thing that a lot of people don't know for whatever reason, I know I came out with a video a little bit ago, I forget how long ago, but you can practice kicking. People don't realize that. You can practice your kicking here. And with you practice your kicking, that's huge, because the amount of people that struggle with just kicking basic field goals, it's preposterous to me. Obviously here I'm not going to make this field goal just because it's 61 yards. But at least I'm kicking it straight. You know, you got to get that timing down. It's something that's very, very simple that a lot of people don't know. Let me just move the ball up a little bit, just to at least give myself a chance here. But when you practice your kicking, you practice a lot of different things that are going to help you win games. If you don't have this confidence in kicking deep with your kicker, let's say a 50-yarder or plus, well, then you're going to put yourself at a disadvantage, because if you're at 4th and 10, 4th and 12, and instead of punting it, you want to go for it, you don't get that. You get terrible field position to your opponent, or great field position, should I say. But if you're able to drill this field goal, even with, a lot of stadium pulse, well, that's awesome. It puts you at a huge advantage, because you can at least put points on the board and not give them the ball in a good situation. Also, you can practice your punting as well. But there are so many things that you can practice in practice mode that make it so essential to using to your advantage, because you can run plays over and over and over again and figure out what play beats what coverage, or what particular route in a pass play beats what particular coverage, and what to assume, especially if you're going up, let's say in your online dynasty, for example, you want to make sure that you know what you're doing. You want to make sure that you have practiced what you're going to do. And sometimes, I know in a lot of my online dynasties that I've been in, we like to stream our games. So you're also able to scout your opponent and see what tendencies that they like to do. And then you can implement it in your practice mode, whether it's in the regular menus or with your team in your online dynasty. You can do free practice there as well, and use what they go up against and pick up the tendencies on what to expect, especially because you can pick to play up against All-American or Heisman. And I think when you're in your online dynasty or dynasty in general, they'll put you in whatever the difficulty is in that game. So you have to make the decision as to what is going to work for you. And you're also able to pick up what to expect the CPU to do in those moments, because the All-American CPU is a lot different than the Heisman CPU, especially in recognition and reaction time and things like that. So for example here, a really good concept to run, especially if you're going up against zone, is going to be this one right here, where you have the tight end on the inside, he's running a little drag route, and then you have the Texas route on the outside. So I'm just going to look, okay, is A open? Well, technically, because I accidentally usered the linebacker because I was showing that previously. So let me swap out of that, because that was actually a really easy read. Let me change down to my player there. And then, so yeah. So now let's see what happens here. If I hike the ball, okay, well, he's not open. Well, now Y might be open here, and no, he's not. Okay, well, at least I know that now. That's not the good idea to throw that, though, because the middle linebacker is literally sitting right there. That's a little thing that I just picked up right now. I know I probably already knew it, but that's just one example that you could use it, and why you should be practicing this game. Because practice makes better. It makes for you to play a lot more comfortable when the real game situations come. A lot of people don't do practice mode. I don't know why. You learn so much by doing it. And there's another thing. Boom. You don't want to throw a flat route with the defender coming where he's going to cut that off. He should have picked that off for a pick six. Okay, that's noted. That is duly noted. Let's see the double move here. Boom. Oh, well, they didn't bite on it, even though I'm running zone with the pump fake. But hey, the tight end was open underneath. So that is why you need to use practice mode. If there's anything else that you guys think that I missed besides these top 10 tips that will make you unbeatable in college football 25, definitely comment down below anything else that I might have missed that you think is very, very essential to being successful in this game. But that'll do it for this video, guys. If you guys made it this far, I appreciate it so much. If you guys could please leave a like. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss another Tips with Teats in college football 25. Thanks. I'm out. Peace. Yo.